All right, so we have this great header, not finished, but close enough to what we're aiming for to keep moving along. We're going to tackle another couple of things in this round. We are going to add some cool typography to this page by connecting with Google Fonts. And we're also going to use those to assign some headings in our pages. So let's start by going over to Google Fonts and grabbing the code we need for our project. So head on over to fonts.google.com and we're going to look for some heading fonts, and we're also going to look at for some paragraph fonts. So we want something that's going to look decent as a H1. We could choose another one for subheadings, but let's see what we can find here. So this looks like a pretty thick heading font. If we want, we can change the vibe over here. So appearance can be, different calligraphy, serif, sans serif. Let's see if we can find some good for headings. I'm going to go with this one and click Get Font. Okay, I already have some other ones in my list. I'm just going to trash them so that there's no confusion. That one and that one. So here's my first one. I'm going to go back to fonts and look for a subheading. So something that'll complement that'll somewhat match it. Doesn't really matter at this point. We could always change it later on. So I'm just going to choose something artistic. Something a bit more scripty. Oh, I should have chosen these beforehand. Oof, that's close. Not exactly what I'm looking for, but I'm just going to commit to this one. Sketch? No, sorry. One more. Choosing fonts can be tricky, but we'll get it done. Let's go with maybe playful. Ooh, these are terrible. Okay, so I've decided on this one. We're going to get that font as well. And now we need one more paragraph font. And I'm just going to keep it simple here. Not cute. We're just going to go with the sans serif. Humanist. Perfect. Lato. Classic. Get font. There it is. So now we have these three fonts. What we're going to do is get the embed code. We want to start here. So this is going to go into the head of our HTML document. Copy. And back to Dreamweaver. HTML in the head of our document. So I usually like to put these way at the top, like right under the title. That way they start loading right away before anything else interferes with that, because you want it to go quickly. Next, we want to capture the individual typefaces. So this one is quite the big one here, the Lato. So let's start with the big one here, the BBH. It's the big headline. That goes into our CSS. Okay, and we'll put that near the top so that it's easy to find. Near the H1s and the H2s and all that. So that'll go there. Next, we'll grab the Pacifico, do the same thing, copy the code. This is our subheading or tagline or what have you. And finally, the CSS classes for Lato, which There's a lot. Are we going to need all of them? Probably not, but let's just grab them anyway. And that will be under here. Okay. So now what we do is for our H1 through H6, this is our headings, we want that to have these properties from our big heading font. Oops, we got an extra little thing in there. So when we assign anything H1 through H6 to any of our text, it'll take on those attributes. This is the subheading, and the class name is Pacifico Regular. But what we're going to do is we're going to call this, we should probably make this an H2. So what we're going to do is break out the H2 on its own. And we're going to copy over the attributes from that typeface into this one. Now, does it matter that we have H2 up here and down here? Yes, it does. It's a bit of a conflict. However, because this H2 is after the original H2, this is the one that the system is going to take and use and forget the other one. But I'm also going to just delete it from here just to be on the safe side and avoid confusion. There we go. And now for the Lato, I want the Lato Regular. I'm going to copy that. And that's going to go in the body tag there, because anything that isn't a heading, I want it to be this font. So anything in the body tag, and there you go, right away everything changes. And once we add some headings, you'll see where it goes. So now we got the body tag sorted. Good times. Let's go back to our CSS. Do a quick save there. Let's go back to our HTML, sorry. And maybe look at our first section for projects. And you know what? I'm not liking how these sections are all like clustered together too tight. What I'm going to do is going to go into my style, CSS, and over here where I have my general temporary styling to space things out, I'm going to add a margin bottom so that everything will have a little space under it of 48 px. There we go. There we go. So now I can more clearly see each section on its own and visualize a bit more easily. So here's our projects folder, section, sorry, projects area. There's some placeholder text. I'm going to delete that placeholder text, and I am now going to put in my title. And what's the title in our preview? Our latest projects. Latest projects. And this is going to be our H1, right? So I'm going to make sure we add a tag in there. And as soon as I do that, we should see, there it is, our font that we've chosen for our headings. And now we want an H2 for our subheading. And it said something about well designed and full of magic. We'll see about that. Full of magic, right? Oh yeah, okay, I could see that. That's kind of cool. So now we have our heading 1 and heading 2, which is fine. Are we finished with it? Can we move on? Maybe, but I'd like to see it centered, and maybe we could deal with colors after. So to more easily manage this as a chunk, I'm going to wrap a div tag around this. Div, and I'm going to say class heading section headings. That way I know exactly what it's going to be used for. So open the tag, make sure our headings are in there, and then close the tag. Perfect. Do a bit of clean formatting there. So now that I have the section headings, I can go back to styles.css, and somewhere in our project area, see, there you go, project styles, we can say section headings, text align center. Awesome. And we can also say in section headings, all our H1 tags, let's not forget our little there, should be color. Let's go with a nice blue violet. There you go. And all our section headings that are H2 should have a color of orange. There you go. Okay, so now we have that. And I'm also noticing there's a lot of space between them. I want to push them a bit closer vertically because it's kind of bugging me, but I don't know what I have to do to make that space smaller. So I'm going to click on View, Inspect, and if I hover over things, I can see where that space is coming from. So between the H1 and the H2, look at that orange. That orange is margin. So I have to reduce the margins a little bit in one of these two, and I'm going to do it on the H2. I'm going to reduce the margin top to 0, and on the H1 the margin bottom to 0. Did it make a difference? Not that much. Should it be padding bottom? Shouldn't be. Nope. Anyway, let's not... Oh, well, it would help if I spelled it right. And if it would help if I didn't screw that up. There we go. So it's a bit more compact. We can fine tune it later, but we got the gist of it. Don't worry about the space up here, because remember, these boxes already have like some fake padding in them. So we're going to be globally removing that later once we get rolling. Next thing we want to do here is look at these projects. This is a grid. So it's a grid again with an image and a title. So what I want to do here is build out that structure in HTML. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give myself a parent container so that I can control this whole package of this entire grid. So I'm going to call this div, and I'm going to call it projects grid. And of course, it should put a class equals. There you go. And now all my elements are going to go between this area here. So if we look at it, it has an image and text underneath. So I'm going to create a div container for my image and a div container for my description. Okay, okay, it's doing something there, but we're going to need to clean that up. So I want to group these together. So if I move the image, the description follows, or if the grid automatically arranges, it's going to treat the image and the description as a group. So this would be the equivalent in Illustrator, selecting multiple objects and grouping them so that they move together. The way you do that with HTML is by wrapping them in, guess what, another div. So this is going to be div. I'm going to give it a class name of project card. Okay, so this card will have the image and text on it. Perfect. And make sure our closing tag goes in the right place. And now I have my card built out. It doesn't look like anything yet, but we're going to be fixing that shortly. So here we have projects grid and project card. The grid, for now I can leave it as is, but the project card, do we need to restrain the width? No. What we're going to do is create, how many of these do we need? 4, 5. I'm going to create 4 more of these by copying and pasting. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, that's a hot mess. Let's clean that up a little bit. And 5. So now we should have a lot of images and descriptions within each grouped within its own container, like this. So now how do we get these in a row? Well, in our project's grid class, which surrounds everything, we can now create, where's our section projects? This is a .project grid. We can say display flex. There we go. So now they all line up in a nice orderly row along the top. Each container has an image and some content in it. Sorry. There, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And what we're going to do also is space them out a little bit so that we don't have to worry about it. And that's going to be with justify content space between. And there you go. So now these will shift accordingly depending on the width of our page. And we'll deal with the cramming and all that later. And that's it. We got pretty much as far as we want to get with the projects section. Everything's accounted for. And the next step would be to maybe add images and put in content, but we're not there yet. We're going to do that shortly. But let's stop there and go to the next section.